Okay, look who we have in part 2 of the steak, rice, and gravy, and veggie part 2 tutorial. Okay, now that we allow the meat to tenderize for about an hour to an hour and a half, we're gonna let the pot that you're gonna cook it in get nice and hot. It needs to be nice and hot so when we make our gravy, we'll have a nice little glaze in the pot to make the gravy. So what I'm going to use is, I'm going to use a little bit of butter for the steak bites to put in the pot. You see, I'm not going to use all of this. I'm just going to use a little bit. Sorry again for my chubby little stomach. I'm sorry. It's time to bite bigger clothing. That's what happens when you eat good. As you can see, I use maybe 2 teaspoons of butter. You're going to hear a nice little sizzle in the pot. That's when you know the pot is good and ready for the steak bites to get put in. You see, now that the butter is in the pot, and I'm going to add the steak bites. And you're going to cook the steak bites on medium high. If you have a stove that have numbers, we're going to put it between the 3 and the 4. If you have a stove that has, high and low in it, you're going to just put it on medium. You hear that sizzle? That's exactly what you want to hear when you're placing your steak bites in your pot. Okay, now that your meat is almost done, you see the little juices at the bottom? I'm sorry, you see the little juices that's at the bottom? You're going to use that to make your gravy. But if you like for your gravy to be a little darker, just cook your meat just a little longer. But what I usually do is, I usually cook my meat almost done, and then I'll make the gravy, and this is what you do to make homemade gravy. You're going to use a cup. You're not going to use a whole cup, so you're going to use a half of this cup. You're going to use a half of a cup. This is a half cup. You're going to use this. You're going to get some flour. This is homemade gravy from scratch. You're going to get some flour. You see that? Not too much flour. Just enough to make the juices that came from the meat thick. Now that you got your flour in your bowl, you're going to use just a little bit more seasoning, because if you don't use a little more seasoning, your gravy is not going to have a nice taste to it. So you're going to do just a little bit more, even though you used some in your meat already, but you just want to make sure that your gravy is seasoned as well. You don't want no unseasoned gravy, because boy, I tell you, that's not something good. So you see what I'm using, right? I'm using the same things that I used to make the to prep the meat in. I'm using the same items. Now that I added more seasoning to the flour, I'm going to mix it. Remember, I told you don't need a lot of seasoning because you already seasoned your meat. You just need enough seasoning so that you can taste your seasoning in your gravy. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about as far as thickening the gravy. You already have gravy in the pot. So now what you're doing is, all you're doing is making your gravy just a little bit thicker than what it already is. And this is how you make gravy from scratch. You have one more step before the gravy is completed. All the dry ingredients is in here. Any season that you like, you can season your gravy with. Now I'm going to go to the sink. I'm going to add just a little bit of water. You know, I'm going to add more in a little bit because I would want my meat to slowly cook. I don't want my juice to get thick too quick. Someone's getting fussy. He's getting fussy. Excuse me 1 second. Here you go, baby. Now, back to what I was doing. You're going to mix it up. You're going to mix it up real good. You see how much water is in here? This water is going to get thick. This water is going to thicken up in the pot. If you like to put onions in here, you can. That's just something that I do not do. But if you like to put onions in here, the raw onions, you can go ahead. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about as far as the color of the gravy. And remember to keep your eye on low. Okay, now I'm going to add the water. Watch this, you guys. I'm going to add just a little bit more water. You see how the gravy is changing colors? This is exactly how you would want your gravy. And this is how you make gravy from starch. I'm sorry, from scratch. Excuse me. Now I'm going to add just a little bit more water because I see that it's thickening a little bit too fast. I'm sorry, these are the dishes that I have used to make my dinner. Now you see the color of the gravy. This is the color that your gravy should look like when you're making steak bites and gravy. Now all you're going to do is you're going to wait till it come back to a boil. And you're going to let it thicken to the way that you like your gravy. Some people like their gravy real thick. Some people like it a little runny. Some people like it just right. I'm going to show you exactly how it was supposed to look once the gravy has thickened up. Here is the finished product. And that is the end of part 2 of my tutorial. If you like what you have seen, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you would like for me to see, if you would like to see any more videos, or if you would like to see me do anything, please comment down below.